And if you have to feel bad when you are setting boundaries and not assisting her while she is either needing help, feeling bad, being sick, getting old, or whatever it is. And I'll tell you two things. There's one thing inside of me which says, no, of course not. And then again, there is a trajectory where you might have gotten to, where you might say, to a certain extent, I can do it, but you better watch out. Okay? I'll get into it, and I am going to be talking about, in the end, as a bonus, still a little bit about having to forgive. I will talk about your rights, about her rights, and about children being sick and stuck, children of narcissistic mothers. And this is not unrelated when they feel they have to heal their mother first instead of themselves, getting themselves into a sort of victim position of this person who needs to be like letting go or letting out their blood, giving their blood for somebody they don't even want to help. They just want to get the love and the approbation they never had gotten from this person. I'll get going. Welcome to my channel. If you'd like to subscribe, I love to have you. And I love your comments. It's really refreshing to hear where you're at. Always remember, when we're talking about setting boundaries to a highly abusive person who has influenced your life substantially, your health, your psychological health, your spiritual health, and your physical health. And maybe it also has still repercussions in your relationships, in your work relationships, in how you live your better and best self, how you, let's say, succeed in your professional life, in your educational life, with your family. I mean, it's just everywhere. Let's say how it is. So, there is always, when we have to deal with a very abusive person, a narcissistic mother is a very, very, very abusive person, and it is not obvious to everybody. All right? This is the tricky thing. This is with most very abusive people like that. Okay? That they have, we talked about it, two faces. One face for you, the victim, where she get on you, pick, like a woodpecker. And then the other face, which is the one which is she's showing outside of this framework, this protected framework of this relationship, and nobody would believe you because she's outgoing, she's charismatic, she is excellent, she's grandiose, but not in a way like people could see that she is picking. And she gives just her very, very, very best self to get this ego booster, which is fine. Everybody can have it and get it, but don't have these two sides of their face, of their personality, which is at large costs of the children of narcissistic mothers. Having to set boundaries, wanting to set boundaries, needing to set boundaries, although this person is maybe really bad off, is a huge story. Is a huge story of you, first of all, being an empathic person, being a person who can feel with people who are suffering. Not because you have suffered. Your narcissistic mom might have also suffered throughout her life, but because you were able to get and to stay in contact with your suffering, to a certain extent at least, to stay empathic towards suffering and towards suffering people. This is beautiful. Congratulations on that. And you also know that this has a big old cost, because many times when you were living in the dynamics of a narcissistic relationship, mother with you being the victim, you become more like a healer for everybody, but not for yourself, which is a really, 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 really tricky question, tricky thing, okay? Because what you essentially want to learn inside of the relationship with a narcissistic mother is to no longer ask her for recognition, love, approbation, for letting finally go of you, finally approving of you. And instead of that, you should be starting to give this love, recognition, self-care to yourself now. But you're still waiting for her approval. That's why you didn't get in contact with yourself to understand that now it is your turn. That's why I'm doing this here, to make you understand each time I talk on this channel about narcissistic mothers, that now is your turn. You need to stop taking care of her, because, as I always say, there's sometimes this double-sided thing in there. I don't want to add insult to injury, as I always say. You need to learn to watch for yourself, and you are now guilty of not taking care of yourself, okay? And of letting go, and of constantly looking outwards for recognition, love, finally getting the thumb up from this person, and finally doing as much good as you can, that she will finally stop all this behavior. And she won't. Just get real. She won't. Okay? So, this is very, very, very tricky. In this entire deal, where you need to stop dealing with her, although you feel for her, although you are the one she has put in place to take care of her, yeah? And although you are in touch with your feelings, and although you want her to finally approve of you, and be it in her last moments, that she would finally take off this this hand, which is like heavy, lying on top of you and not giving you room to breathe in your life, okay? And at this point, you need to understand, and you need to make this decision with whom you really want to deal. Do you still and forever want to deal with a person who will never change? I've heard stories of really, really abusive people on their deathbed, crying a tear, changing somehow that they could feel this. Glory to God. But this is not the objective of your life. When I listen to you, and I know where you folks are, the impact a narcissistic mother, her behavior, a lifelong behavior, and she didn't stop until now, had on your life, the toll it took on you, that you are sick, that you are struggling with mental health, that you're struggling with getting your goals met, that you're struggling with doing a purposeful, living a purposeful professional life, living a purposeful family life, being able to build up relationships, because trusting is not the big old thing she infunded into you. Then you know that you have to take care of something. And this is you. You haven't learned that. So don't be, let's say, I always say, don't be like her, and looking all the time outside of you for recognition. Excuse me if I say that, I know it's different. I know you don't hurt people, or, at least you try to not. You try to be very sensitive to it, But isn't it a little bit the same? That you are still looking outside of you for recognition, and especially inside of her, for her recognition to finally be good, to finally be loved, to finally be yourself, to finally be whole, to finally be somebody, something, somebody, to finally find your identity. She's not gonna give it to you. It was her task, her obligation to do so, like a moral obligation as a mother towards a child. Yes, but she will have to deal with that, And her now being sick, helpless, showing things she maybe hasn't shown in her old age that make you think you now have to come and jump and help her. I say yes and no. I see people doing this, and the people who do it usually like wanting to help her, like not cutting off, not going no contact, not understanding who she is and that she will always be like this, are often people who greatly struggle still with their physical and mental health. Okay? So you are misunderstanding something here. This is what I want to tell you. It is really something to weigh up, weigh against one the other, to balance out, like being a person who will see a person really suffering. And I have seen, and where I have seen these good results was in communities where there is no social system and where there is no help. And now we're getting back to the idea of a behavior, a narcissist or a strongly abusive behavior is a chosen behavior, is a consciously chosen behavior. Why do we know? Because it's done always in a protected context, and it's not done with everybody the same. Yeah, it's mainly with a chosen victim. So when we know that this person chooses to be abusive, then we can see in communities where there's no social system, no social assistance, that these people change in the manner that they see they can't get along without, receiving this help from their children. The same children they were pickpacking on their lives long. So this is tricky. I don't want to make statistics out of that, but I do see these things. Anyways, if you are in a situation where you say your mother is in a position where she needs help, okay? Think about it. Isn't there any other help she can find? And if you would help, would it be just reinforcing the kind of relationship you were having? How is your mental and physical health now? And if you get into this relationship, will you play the adult person? Will you be the empowered person? Will you be able to be the one really disconnecting your emotional world from what she will be doing with you inside of this relationship while she plays victim and is a victim, Will you be able to be all by yourself, all for yourself, and do really in a very objective manner what you have to do to assist her? Sure, it would be correct to do if there is no other help. Are there other children around? We have this a lot. That there was a narcissistic parent or a narcissistic mother, and there's 3, 4, 5 or more children in the family. Nobody remembers her, though you as the chosen victim on whom she had picked primarily, or at least you perceive it that way. We can talk about this, you feel being the one having to take care of her. I don't want to say there's no merit in that, but I want to say you really need to balance out what you really can do. And if you are taking care of yourself, or if you're taking care of her, that finally you would win her over, that you would win the game. This is a really, let's say, hidden psychological game which is going on in there. Will you do this to finally get her absolution? Will you do this to gain indulgence from her? Will you do this to because you're searching still for this love to be received in you, because you're still living this emptiness, because you haven't filled yourself, with purpose, with love, with identity, with cutting those ties off, which are negative ties, which are dark ties, which constantly hold you back and keep you stuck, feeling stuck and being stuck. You need to evaluate this. Do you still feel stuck? Are you stuck in your psychological conditions, in your physical conditions? Are you in a form unhealthy, which could make people think there is a psychological component to it, like psychosomatic things, autoimmune things, like unclear, not healable physical conditions? These conditions are usually connected to things. And now I need to come back also to this having to forgive, because I wanted to really refer to this. If you hold a grudge against somebody really important in your life, it is much possible that this is going to have a toll on you at some point in your life, that you are gonna suffer physically. Your body will suffer from, I call this the bitterness, this entire chemistry which you're not having forgiving, not having let this person go, not having understood, which is part of the forgiveness process, the damage this person has done to you, and not having put the necessary boundaries that this person would just energetically, just psychologically, just for you understanding that this is how things are, no longer be in your life and influence your life and influence your health, your mental health and your physical health. So if you're struggling with getting your own needs met, and when your body shouts out and cries and screams and squeezes, because you have accumulated all this stressful, hurtful, bitter energy. I mean, we can even make measures today of the acidity, thank you, of our body, of our organs, and we can understand that we have bitterness in our body. There's interesting studies. I remember this guy was, I think, in Austria. This is like a cardiologist, and he interviewed people. He's a Christian cardiologist, and he interviewed people on not only their physical conditions, but also their, let's say, life stories, where they're at in their lives. And while he interviewed them, because he wanted to, he's like a very thorough doctor, and he just wants to know where his patients are at. And he found out that the people with cardiac conditions, with heart conditions, and like blood pressure conditions and things like this, are having a problem, an open thing with not having forgiven a close person. This really called my attention, that he would just ask his patients, would go the 2 miles, the extra effort, what doctors usually don't do anymore these days, and ask them, how are you? I told you I was working 7 years in psychiatry. I was director of a psychiatric center. And there was one thing which always called my attention. When I was talking to psychotic or to depressed or whatever people who had to go to the psychiatric attentions, and what they all would say, what they almost all, like 90-something% would say, they didn't even ask me anything. They say, now I'm talking to you, and now I can see how this was all like triggered by this and this and this and that event. And the weird thing is, I went to the psychiatric emergencies, and I wasn't even asked a word. They get my name. They get me on drugs, I get like isolated or whatever they do to me, and nobody asks me anything. And now I'm seeing this doctor, and he says many, or almost all of the people who have like strong heart or circulation processes I see I haven't forgiven. I'm like, wow, what a super trip. We know this, but that he could see this so clearly. So do you have to forgive? Do you have to help her? This is two things. And they're kind of going into the same balance, or trying to balance things out, this me wanting to finally get accepted by her and living still for her, while I still abandon myself, while I still reject myself, while I still don't see myself, while I still don't love myself, while I still don't take care of myself, because I'm still there. My entire mindset is on her, is, will you approve of me? Will you give me finally? Will you be there for me? Will you finally love me? No, she won't. Just get it. She won't. And if you want to help this person and you are still yourself in a really bad spot in your life, just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. We usually live, even in Latin America and even in Asia, in countries where you get the health assistance you need. And if you want something, and if you want to get her a health assistant in older age, do it. You will be able to do it. But if you vacillate, you're like, oh, maybe I should do it. Oh, I'm not so sure. No, maybe this and that, you are not gonna make this decision, and you're not gonna watch that you are reaching this goal for yourself. Do you know that this is the actual problem? Can you see that the problem is not, is she there and does she need help? The problem is, I don't know how to deal with her. And I still think I will save her, because she has not only two faces, the one in public and the one towards me, but she also has like I would say this two personalities, where she is today a victim and tomorrow an aggressor. And don't fall for this victim role. We have understood, I talked about this before on the videos, that she does suffer. She had a bad life. She is a victim, and she's obviously a victim because she is not treating people well. Only winners, only heroes treat people equally well, regardless. of how good they feel themselves. So that's a winner attitude. So now you want to fall for her victimness. You want to fall now for her triggering you again into this entire relationship dynamic where you are getting there, oh, my culpa, my mea culpa, it's my fault, I have to take care of her, and she was never happy with me, so it must be my fault, so I'm now responsible for taking care of her, for watching that she is good. No, you did this your life long. Hello, wake up. You watched your life long that she finally would become good because you assumed it was your fault. Get over it. Get over it. And another thing with this forgiveness thing. No, you don't have to forgive her. If you haven't passed in this forgiveness process, through a stage where you had totally clear what the impact she had on you and what she all did to you in her life, in your life. If you haven't gotten that clear, because you're still bitter and you're still feeling like a victim and you still can't put healthy boundaries, it is because you have not done your exercise writing out what she really, really, really did for you. So you're not discerning, let's say, the spirits here, right? What you're doing, you're still staying inside of this relationship of, oh, you want to make me a victim, so I'm just going to be here strong and I'm just going to pretend nothing happened and I'm just going to pretend you were not in my life, which is what you're looking for in the end result. But if you're doing it with a rebel attitude, which is, I love you much, folks, which is part of the deal, when you start out, of course you need to do it. Of course you need to be at some point in this inner attitude, like I'm not gonna even, blah, 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 blah. Of course you're gonna do this. But once you learn to better put boundaries, to really understand that you are a separate being from her, that you are not dependent on her approval, that she would finally say, you know what, I changed my mind, I was so wrong my life long. I treated you so badly. I mean, I'm so sorry. Would you forgive me? That would be beautiful, right? It would be so beautiful. Our souls would be so soothed and would feel everything so good that this entire spook would be taken away from us. But don't hope for it. Don't hope for it. You have enough signs until now that you're watching this video that she's not going to do it. And if she would do it all by herself at some point, beautiful. But until then, it's no longer important for you. Do you get that? That is, until then, you don't no longer depend on that. You don't no longer need that to be there. Because you have learned to adopt yourself. You have learned to be there for yourself. You have learned to soothe yourself. You have learned to console yourself. You have learned to grieve, to really pass through a time of mourning and of sadness and of the real desperation, not somehow desperation, but the real desperation of her having, of your lost childhood, of her having abused of your kindness, of your beauty, of your tenderness, of your love, of your willingness, of your empathy, and whatever it is, you put names on it, of your capacity to forgive day after day in this relationship. Yeah, but just from here to there. Because what you still and in the end wanted was her approval, was her love, to finally gain her over. That's beautiful. That was very sweet of you. That was the best you could do. But now we're going a very, let's say, counterintuitive path. And this path is that you shut her out, and you now take care of yourself first until you're good. And you'll notice that if you're in like a brief contact, be it a text, be it an email, be it a phone call, God forbid, and how you go out of that, and how you are the next day, and how you are the next 2-3 days. You check how dependent your emotional world still is on her and on her approval. That's your measure. Does it make still in your head once you get off the phone, still 2 days later, the entire night? Are you tempted in writing letters? Are you tempted in giving her a call back? Are you tempted to reach out and to get support, what would be beautiful? Or do you simply forget that this crazy woman called you and wanted something which is all entirely her deal? How she speaks with people, it's just her deal. Don't assume it has something to do with you anymore. You don't go when you walk down the street and there's some whatever crazy drunk guy yelling out at the people in general, and then while you pass there at you too. Hopefully you don't, get stuck with this. You would get stuck with this only because you have this experience. And in the other way around, you would just pass this guy and think, man, this guy is so crazy. You wouldn't even think about assuming it had to do with you, So this should be the same way like you treat her, like you treat any kind of contact with her. So I say, do you have to be there for her when she is in substantial need? Let's put it like this. You can be there for her and ask her if she needs some assistance from somebody else, that you will take care of this, You can do that. And she might be the person who doesn't want help, but whom she wants to be there and to piggyback on because she feels really down. She's getting like the bill right now. And she might want you to be there. You and just you. And you're feeling all honored. You're like, oh my God, I think she needs me really. I think she's changed. It's like, no, she wants you to be there to pick on you, to establish this power relationship where although she's now down here, and you are about here, and now she wants to get again here. That's her entire plan. That's her entire master plan and quest. Get that? Your rights are to really take care of yourself, to really be good. I mean, really, to hopefully get to a point where you can forgive her, but hold on, this is not the first thing to do. I never said that. I said the first thing to do is to be in a safe place, and where you are in a safe place, you need to get really angry at what really, really, really happened inside of this relationship your entire life, as long as you know this person. And you need to be able to understand the impact she had on you. Not only that she said and did and made. This is not enough. You need to understand for how much this accounted on your mental health, on your happiness, on your self-love, on the way you're going into this world. Get that? It is not enough to, on a high level, I say a mentally high level, where I don't connect to the pain. you know, to say, oh, she did that and that and that and that, and then we're going all these turns and telling the story again and again and again, and she did to me and she did to me and she did to me and she did to me. And this is the best sign for you to understand that you haven't forgiven her, which is okay. There's no reason to forgive her right now, but understand that you're carrying this sack, you know, this baggage on your back of constantly saying, she did to me, she did to me, she did to me. Because of her, I can't succeed. Because of her, I can't level up. Because of her, I can't love myself. Because of her, I can't find relationships. Because of her, I can't blah, 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 blah. It's okay. Yes, you are right. I know you are right. But in your empowerment process, you need to get out of this kind of thinking. You need to get out of the victim thinking. You were the victim. Yes, you were. And if you decide today to get out of this, you need to do this. You don't need to take care of her first. This is wrong. This is simply wrong, and you can't do it. Because it's going to be on your account, you know. It's going to be like taking away from your health, from your ability to succeed in your self-love, in your professional life, in your relational life, and especially in your life with your own boundaries, which will show everywhere. Everywhere where you go, your boundaries are going with you. And if your boundaries are all down low, anybody can come to make you again a victim like she used to. Okay? That's what it's for you to understand how she violated your boundaries, and now to get up and to become to get into your dignity, to become a self-loving being, while you become a self-loving being, becoming a being who is being loved by kind people who notice. Stop looking for approval in her. And as long as you don't have those boundaries up, as long as you can't show up at her house, at her phone, at her text or whatever, within whatever attitude, you know, within, oh, I got you, you know, that's interesting. Oh, okay. So I feel you're so bitter, you know, okay, you talked, I'm going my way, and now I fill myself up again with positive thinking, with a fulfilled life, with thinking that I can reach my goals, and so on. Can you get that? Can you get the balancing out aspect of you have your reasons to feel bad for putting boundaries towards her, and in general, and additionally, although she is in a needy state. Evaluate what you can do for her. If you really have a problem with that, get her the help she needs, but check the other family members. Are you the only one who's having to do that? No, you feel you have to do this because you still feel guilty, because you feel you're responsible for her, because she has always made you feel responsible for her, because she wanted to play the victim part. She can't do otherwise because you are so bad, you know, because the world is so bad, because you didn't do what she wanted you to do, because you are not enough, and you still feel not enough. Be honest, and this is why you want to save her. Save yourself. Rough talk, but this is how it is. Having to forgive her, why would you? I don't want to insist on this forgiving thing, but I really want to insist on, if you want to level up at some point, once you're out of the you did me phase, and you need to do the you did me, but then you need to stop the you did me. And you need to start with the I would have loved you to, I would have expected to, I had wished you would, and then you let it go. You understand that you can't reinforce this behavior, good behavior, kind behavior, not even in mothers. And you start going your own way, and you start building your own personality, your own identity, an identity totally disconnected from whatever she did in her life. And you start discovering who you really are, because you have come out of this with so much strength, with so much capacities, with so much creativeness, with so much analytic thinking, with so much understanding, with so much emotional feeling the world, understanding where things aren't really right, You can make use of this so beautifully. You are called into this world to use all this dark side, to get into your gold medal self. Yeah? Because of it. This was what equipped you with being able to succeed in life and to find your calling. What do you want to tell all those people who are all suffering and who are living shitty relationships, be it with a narcissistic mother or with whatever kind of abuse they have lived, or accidents or incidents or suffering, which still is a part of this world? We're not up there still. It is part of our fallen nature, so get used to it. What do you want to tell those people? That life is good? Want to show your Instagrams and all your Facebook photos of how happy you are and what good of a life you have? Just become real. You are there to give out the good word to the people who need to hear it. And for that, you need to have healed. You need to be sensitive to your own pain, and you need to, little by little, work those boundaries that you understand you no longer take shit, and when you see shit, your antennas are going. Okay? Just make sure you do this. And if you want to forgive at some point, just because you just drop this sack, this is the last cutting off of the relationship, of the bitterness, of the darkness, of the accusations, of your accusations towards her, which are justified. And you will be free. And you just rule. And you just rule. And you just do your thing. Thanks for listening. Check my other videos out about narcissistic mothers, about inner healing, about getting through inner healing into your own leadership. And I'll see you in my next video. You can subscribe down there, comment, and I love you folks. Nice to have you here. Bye.